Hello, my name is Rebecca Owens, and I am the Title I Family Engagement Coordinator for the Sevier County School System. Today, I am with Miss Patterson at Pigeon Forge Intermediate School, and we are going to continue our family engagement video series on the topic of student attendance. So thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
For our first question, and just to provide some background information, can you share with us how long you've worked for the school system and in what positions you've worked in?
Sure. So I am in my 29th year with Sevier County School System. I started in the early 90s as a teaching assistant at Pigeon Forge Middle School, which doesn't even exist anymore. And I worked as an assistant when I was finishing college at UT. And then I was hired by Pigeon Forge Middle as a middle school math teacher. And I worked there for several years before moving to Caton's Chapel. And I taught 4th grade math and 7th and 8th grade ELA at Caton's Chapel. I was in classroom for about 15 years, and then I moved into administration. I became the assistant principal at Caton's Chapel, stayed in that role for about 4 years, and then became the principal at Pittman Center. And I was at Pittman Center for 7 years. And then Dr. Parton asked me if I would come down here and help open Pigeon Forge Intermediate, and I've been here since 2020 when we opened.
So now that we know your extensive background, just to elaborate, asking you how big of a factor is student attendance on their academic performance?
Well, I think attendance is probably the biggest factor in relation to child's academic performance. If the child isn't at school, they obviously aren't learning. It doesn't matter how good the teacher is, how well prepared they are, how engaging the lessons are, how strong the curriculum is. If the student's not here, then none of that matters. So I think we found out through virtual learning that students perform a lot better when they're in person. So attendance is extremely important in academic progress.
Not only why is it important, but just to be here, but even being here on time. I hear schools talking about students coming in late and the amount of tardies. Why is that so critical?
Well, I think parents have to make attendance a priority. I think a lot of people don't realize how missing just a day of school can get a child behind. Can a student catch up if they miss a day? Sure, they can catch up. But a lot of times when they come back to catch up, they're missing out on that day's instruction, just trying to get caught up. And independent makeup work is obviously a lot harder than if you're here for direct instruction. And also, to answer your question, does coming in late have an effect on a student? When they come in and they're tardy, they start the day off being anxious, and I don't think parents realize that it just kind of sets the tone for the day. So having a student here and on time and prepared really does set the tone for the student's day.
Perfect. So what do you all do at your school to encourage student attendance?
Well, ever since we've been in existence, which we're in year 3, attendance has been so inconsistent because of COVID. And it's been difficult for me to actually get a great grasp on what attendance trends are at PFI. So the past 2 years, we've really attempted to take very accurate attendance. We've studied the data over the last couple of years, knowing that it's probably skewed a little bit. So this year is our first true year of actually putting some things into place. And we're doing that by incorporating a lot of incentives for the students to want to come. This year we're actually awarding like monthly classroom winners with those students who have the highest percentage of coming to school each month, and we're going to give one for each grade level. The students that are here, perfect attendance each month, we're also going to give them individual rewards. We'll be giving treats like a lot of students who have consistent attendance. We're going to let eat with their SRO in the lunchroom and all kinds of little things like that. And then for those that have, semester perfect attendance and year-long perfect attendance, we're going to do much bigger prizes that we're going to get some donations for those. But, all of those incentives are great, but I really believe the most effective incentive to motivate students to want to come to school really starts with the school culture. So I think when you can create a culture that students want to come and be here, then they're going to make sure they get here.
Absolutely. Thank you. Can you share with us, just so parents and families are aware, what are the attendance protocols for the school and district?
Okay, so the protocols at PFI are just like all the other schools. We try very hard first to get parent notes in. Anytime students are out, the first thing we do is try to get a parent contact. if students are absent several days in a row, we'll call. Our translator, particularly here, plays a vital role because we have to call a lot of families and just check in, why they're not at school. I usually try and meet as much as possible at the beginning of each year so we can kind of avoid a lot of bad habits with attendance. But to answer your question, once a student uses 5 parent notes per semester, anything after that goes in as unexcused. So if they get 3 unexcused, we have a meeting with parents and our team. And then 4 unexcused, the team gathers again, and once you hit 5 unexcused, it goes into truancy court. We also have another form that we're required to keep, and that deals with chronic absenteeism. So chronic absenteeism is a tracking system. When the student misses at least 10% of the school year, they go on a list that the state keeps, and those absences are for anything. It's just doesn't matter if they're excused or not. So parents need to understand the difference in the two. Just because they're sending in notes or they've planned a vacation or they've been to a funeral, if the student's not in the building, they're considered absent, and then if you miss more than 10%, you go on that chronic absenteeism list. So that's both challenges that we face. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Last question. Do you have any additional advice or tips for families and students regarding school attendance?
Well, I think if I could give any tips for parents regarding school attendance, it would probably be that to make school attendance a non-negotiable. The state of Tennessee requires students to come to school, and I think it's very important that parents have that discussion at home that, it's very important to come to school, and when the kids think they have to come to school, they're just going to come to school. I know a lot of parents struggle each morning when students don't want to get up or they don't want to come in, and that's when, if they'll contact the school, we're very equipped to help do that. We have a lot of kids, when they move into my building, they've been in primary school and they come into intermediate, they're nervous that first year. So in particular, our 4th graders have a little bit more of a struggle in the mornings coming to school, but that's what we're here for. And I just think parents need to understand it is not negotiable. They need to do whatever it takes to get students to school. And also one of the big issues that we have is family vacations, and I think family time is so important. But I think there's a time and a place. I realize we live in a tourist industry, and a lot of times when parents can go on vacation happens to be in the school year. But anytime a student misses school, it is going to affect academic performance. So if they could just be mindful of that and use as many days as they can in the summer months when we're not in session, it truly will help academic performance of their students.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you for being
You're
here with
welcome.
us today. As that's extremely helpful information, as our district and all of our schools are aiming to improve student attendance. So thank you, parents and families, for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.